What's up, folks? Bit of a different setup today. You're probably noticing. Got my camera over on the side. So if it's your first time tuning in, like, Dave, what are you talking about? But for you hardcore listeners out there, welcome. A bit of a low key day today to do a thumbnail. Didn't have the gas to do a full breakdown of the news, but I want to focus the conversation on how you doing. How you do? It's February. February is typically that month where, especially if you're here in Canada, it's cold. You're just waiting for winter to end. It's usually the coldest, worst month. And you're just like, man, when are we going to get out of this? But I want to offer a ray of sunshine for all of y'all. So if this is your first time tuning in, drop some comments. I'm actually live on Instagram right now. I figured it out, guys. I figured it out. If you're on Instagram, drop me a comment. Be like, yeah, I'm listening on Instagram. That'd be huge. And all the regular channels, we're live there on X and YouTube. So welcome again, guys. I want to show really quickly at the start. Okay, so something really dear to my heart. My son drew something, and I'm just super impressed with his art skills. And I'm going to bring it up on the screen right now. Love to know what your thoughts are. So he's 8. And he's super into drawing, and I guess like his old man, he's into Marvel and Venom and Spider-Man. And this is his first attempt at Venom. What do you guys think? I think it's freaking awesome. I can't even come close to that. So I wanted to show it on the podcast because he was like, "Hey, can you show your friends?" I'm like, "I'm not only going to show my friends. I'm going to show the entire planet that you can draw Venom." Sorry, just let me turn off my heater here. It's kind of probably here in the background. So there we go. Hopefully he'll be drawing comic books in the near future, and I get some free comic books and maybe some time with some of the Marvel action universe people in the future. So that's Venom for you. Love to hear what you guys think. Or if you have requests, he takes requests. Believe it or not. Okay, so let's get right into it. I want to chat a little bit about mental health. I want to chat about mental health, and I wanted to chat about what I'm doing and some of the events that I'm doing, and some of the stuff that's in the news, and particularly stuff that's related to Grunt Style and what they're up to. So bear with me for a hot minute here as I get my screen up. Okay, so we have here a post from Grunt Style. Okay, so from Tim Jensen, Grunt Style First Sergeant, who will be going down to sea in in like 13 days. Actually, no, 12 days. Pretty stoked about that. So this is a letter, proposed executive order expanding access to alternative mental health therapies for veterans and first responders. So in 2023, the VHA invested over $50 million in suicide prevention programs. Now, VHA, Veteran Health Advocacy, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what the acronym is for. And if you guys know, please drop in the comments. I'd appreciate it. In 2024, presumably the same spent, yet the latest VHA veteran suicide report shows zero decline in deaths. This cannot continue. It's time for real solutions. And I have to wholeheartedly agree. There's approximately 150,000 American veteran suicides. On the Canadian side, proportionally, we're about the same, but absolute numbers are obviously significantly less. So with that being said, there needs to be some more solutions, and there are solutions, but there's still money in the big machine of our governments that go to useless programs. And the talk about mental health is ongoing, but there's no real solution happening except for within the community organically. So I'm just going to read here the proposal by Grunt Style, and hopefully you can see that. And let me see if we can make that a little bit bigger for y'all. Okay, there we go. So proposed executive order to address the alarming rates of suicide among veterans, law enforcement officers, and first responders by expanding access to alternative research-based therapeutic modalities such as psychedelic assisted therapy under the principles of the Right to Try Act. This initiative prioritizes reducing stigma, building public-private partnerships, and empowering local communities to provide innovative care. I love it. Key provisions of the executive order. Right to alternative treatment for PTSD and TBI. I like that. Yeah, PTSD and TBI, as I've covered before, there's a lot of similarities with the symptoms, right? So you may be struggling, and being diagnosed with PTSD is more likely than with a TBI or an MTBI. But if you get treated for PTSD, but you actually have an MTBI, you're going to get frustrated because the treatments aren't the same. You're never going to recover because your brain has been injured. But this is a mechanical injury for MTBI, and post traumatic stress is a psychological injury. They have different treatment modalities. So this is great. And psychedelics and plant medicine have a positive effect on both. So veterans and first responders diagnosed with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or other treatment-resistant mental health conditions will have the right to try psychedelic-assisted therapies. For example, psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, without fear of legal penalties or stigmatization. Treatments must be administered under the supervision of licensed medical professionals or certified spiritual providers with appropriate training in psychedelic-assisted therapy. Eligible substances will be determined based on existing clinical research and must demonstrate potential for therapeutic benefit. And the second part here is veteran administration. So the VA integration via community care program. The VA will establish a pilot program to vet and approve licensed therapy centers and spiritual retreat organizations capable of administering psychedelic therapies. Yeah, I'm glad there's the spiritual side, because I really think one of the big, like the big overarching like meta problem we're dealing with here, it's a crisis of conscience. We're we're entering into a whole new era, whether it's the, you look at it from like, is the age of Aquarius we're moving into, or moving into the AI era. We're shifting out of a current era, and with it comes some serious growing pains. And at the pointy end of that spear of change, veterans were part of this last wargasm, if you want to call it, of the old system. Kind of like the old system at the end of World War II was completely destroyed and a new one took over. Well, we have a new one taking over now, and the wars during the GWOT were an expression of that last gas of that era. And now we're dealing with the spiritual side of things. This is my opinion, but also based on cycles of time. I mean, Nietzsche talked about this. Jung talked about this. You have this crisis of conscience, and if all you're doing is talk therapy and taking SSRIs, you're not dealing with the underlying root cause, which is there you're having a crisis of conscience. A lot of us did stuff overseas that we wouldn't have never have done here, stateside or in Canada, because it's morally, ethically, and legally wrong. And then factor in the whole, should we have been over there in the first place? It creates these really toxic emotions, and part of this is to address those and to be at peace with what we had to go through, what we've done, and then hopefully we start seeing that change. So I like that thread about the fact that there should be a spiritual side to this healing modality, not just medical. And then the last few bullets, these community care providers must adhere to rigorous standards for safety, ethical practices, and evidence-based treatment protocols. Veterans will have the option to receive care through VA facilities or private sector providers within the community care network. It's cool. I like that. It goes on. So there's 5 total bullet points. Public-private collaboration to foster innovation. That's great. Legal safeguards and protections. And lastly, community engagement and accessibility. So the anticipated benefits here, this is signed by Tim Jensen, chairman of the board, Grunstyle Foundation. Reduction of suicide rates, empowering veterans and first responders, strengthen public-private relationships, and advancing the right to try act. That's really cool. I mean, as far as I know, we don't have any legislation here in Canada that is similar to the Right to Try Act. I'm going to actually pop over there right now and see uh, and show you what I found regarding treatment for mental health from Queen's University. The conversation: Canada owes its veterans new mental health tools. So you can see like the tide is shifting both in the States and here in Canada. I think the Americans, like always, are quite a few bounds ahead. Now, we've already dabbled in plant medicine here in Canada, right? Like quote unquote plant medicine, because the allowances for veterans uh, with medical grade cannabis have been very liberal and without any training or guidance since its inception. And as far as I know, it's an absolute gong show. If you guys have any clarity on that, like drop it in the comments. But as far as I can tell, having been through this system and currently still benefit from it, there's no rhyme or reason. If you have a great licensed producer and you have an actual coach that goes along with cannabis as a medicine that can guide you through the process, great. That's awesome. Like you should be trained on how to use it. It is a medicine and it's a plant medicine. But as far as I can tell, the overwhelming majority get no training whatsoever. And that being said, I've heard horror stories. Guys taking way too much, having psychotic breaks, just being stoned 24/7, not being able to get off like it's not the intent. I benefited from cannabis because it allowed me to get through chronic pain so that I could actually do the exercises that I needed to do and start down regulating my central nervous system enough so that I could actually do some more work and get back on my feet again, pretty much literally. But that being said, since we've already gone down the road of plant medicine, it's curious that we still haven't opened up the floodgates to psilocybin, which is just it's a chemical compound from a mushroom. That's plant medicine, right? Sure, okay, it's not technically a plant; it's a fungus. I get it, but still, it grows in the ground. Let's call it a plant. Uh, we should have access to it, in my opinion. It's naturally occurring, just like weed. So let's open up the floodgates. What does Queens have to say about all of this? Let's go through the article here. The Canadian Senate Subcommittee on Veterans Affairs recently released a striking report entitled "The Time is Now Granting Equitable Access to Psychedelic Therapies." To address high rates of suicide and post-traumatic stress among veterans, the report calls on VAC to immediately implement a robust research program funded by VAC and the Department of National Defence in partnership with Health Canada. Interesting. With psychedelic research, Veterans Affairs Canada has a real chance to live up to its mandate to provide exemplary client-centered services and benefits that respond to the needs of veterans, our other clients, and their families. As a psychedelics researcher with interest in veteran health, I couldn't be happier, especially with the Senate focus on timelines, equity, and access. When did this come out? January 25th, 2024. Okay, this was published very recently. Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, so it's a PhD researcher. Anyways, this is an interesting article, and I'm curious to know what is going to come of this. And I'm sure you are too. So if you want to know more about psychedelic research, or you think that veterans should have greater access here in Canada and the US to psychedelics, drop it here. And also, if you've had a positive experience, I'd love to hear it because I'm going to get into mine in 2 seconds. Okay. Oh, thanks, Dennis DeLong. Yeah, you're right. January 2025, 2024 is last year. Well said. Yes, you're right. I'm still stuck in a time warp. This is indeed February 6th, 2025. All right, so a year old. Thank you. So I don't know how far this ball has been pushed down the field, but hopefully we're getting there. Hopefully we're getting there. I know folks like Kelsey Sharon are really big advocates for this type of treatment. And I'm hoping to see some changes here in Canada. And I hope it's actually well implemented too, that we actually help the community rather than just create some kind of boondoggle that gets people rich and then there's all kinds of corruption, kind of like what's going on with weed. I hope this is sorted out properly so that we can get the treatment that we need, because as far as I can tell, this is way more beneficial than what we're doing right now. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but I did a 3-day seminar last week with Tony Robbins. He quoted some research from Stanford. So Stanford looked at his whole program. His program has phenomenal results for folks that were not only depressive, but suicidal. The best study and the best results that compared to what he does, so it's Unleash the Power Within is his like 4-day seminar, I think, was a psychedelic therapy, which was like 70% effective. His was like 90% effective, which is pretty cool. All of the therapies don't even come close. And I don't want to quote numbers because I don't quite remember them offhand. But that just tells me that there are better treatments out there. We're just not listening. We are stuck on a railway track that requires us to go from point A to point B using the medical system, which has doctors, insurance companies, you name it, so that we can cover their ass if something goes wrong. But something is going wrong all the time. People are committing suicide. People are killing themselves. But since it's going through the normal system, we did our due diligence, right? So no harm, no foul. Oh, well, I guess we'll get the next one. So hopefully that system's going to change. We got some comments coming in. So let's throw them up here on the screen. I used to do mushrooms, death cap, lovelies, microdose, and do on addicts and PTSD, but this has been okay. So if I understand correctly, death cap, lovelies. Don't know what that is. I'm still a noob to this, but thanks for commenting. And Dennis, we gotta get you positive, man. It's February. Maybe the system is just agnostic. It's just indifferent. Right? Because there are some good people. There's some good people. The big green machine, it's hard. It's hard for them to actually care about the individual. I agree. That's why it's up to us. It's up to you. It's the personal responsibility, right? If you work with the system well, and I'll get into why I'm saying this right now, it can actually help. It can actually help. You got to kind of pull and you got to kind of push. You got to be like, hey, fuck face, pay attention over here. And yeah, it lets you down. Don't get me wrong. Systems let me down many times, but there's nobody coming to save you. We gotta be our own self-rescue. So what am I pumped up about? Well, I am currently going to Operation Flow State. I've talked about it in the past. I've had Dave Swoboda on, who is the co-creator of this veteran retreat. It is a jiu-jitsu retreat for veterans and first responders. I know, it's pretty cool. Seb Lavoie, who I've had on the podcast numerous times, is going to be the chief instructor, black belt in jiu-jitsu, overall badass, veteran of RCMP as well. And it's in Tulum, Mexico. And the cool thing is that it's included with it. It's not just jiu-jitsu. We're not just like trying to snap arms and choke necks. It's a mental health wellness retreat. His wife is a licensed therapist. He is a doctor of physical therapy. And we start working on our shit. Okay. There's plant medicine involved. It's awesome. Can't wait. And VAC paid for it. I know. This is paid for, except for my flight by VAC. You just need to fly your ass down there. So a week in Tulum to do jiu-jitsu and work on myself. This is where the healing starts, man. This for me has way more benefit than talking to my therapist. No offense to my therapist. She's great. But how much benefit do I get from, an hour session once every few weeks compared to immersing myself and really getting into something that I enjoy, which is BJJ, and then combining it with plant medicine and therapy? Man, wow, amongst the tribe, bunch of hard chargers. I love it. What a great idea. And these are the solutions that I'm talking about, that can, it's not a one size fits all thing. I like BJJ now because I found it to be super beneficial, and I'm getting my competitive edge back. I feel like I'm like, well, I am fighting. And if you're a veteran, you were literally joining to fight, whether you're a clerk or whatever, it doesn't matter. You put on a uniform, you learned how to shoot a gun. You're a warrior. You're there to fight. Now, some go on a little bit further, but I digress. That part of you is still part of you. And one thing I think I've noticed is that if you try to put it aside and be like, I don't do that anymore, that's a big part of your identity that you're kind of just like shelving. And that warrior inside is got to be it's got to be brought out from time to time. When I'm getting strangled and I'm or I'm strangling somebody, like after a workout, man, it feels good. It feels so good. And it's a controlled environment. It's so good. The research is clear. I had Dr. Gino on. BJJ exhausts the body, calms the mind, builds trust amongst your fellow grapplers. It's really important. So I'm excited about that. And currently, there's more. There's more. So I am currently on the, is it here? I don't think it's here. Yeah, oh, there we go. Currently doing the mindfulness and mental health journey with Dave, with folks from all over North America. This is a great program. I can't say enough about it. It's been a few weeks. I've been on it. Dave guides you through so much of the process, and just start working on the things that are holding you back, right? Everybody's got something to work on. You don't have to be a veteran to have to work on stuff. You don't have to have been knee deep in grenade pins to have some stuff that you need to work through. And these are the things that I really enjoy because, again, it's something that I want to do. Nobody's imposing it on me. And these are the solutions that I think are going to have a massive impact. Couple that with plant medicine. Oh man, with a guy that actually knows what they're talking about, this is where the magic happens, in my opinion. So there's tons of these. Like, don't get me wrong, this is just the one that I've picked, and I think that this is going to be one of the major avenues to start the healing process moving forward. So we just need more of them, right? I mean, there's so many of us that need help, and the current system is just not equipped to provide that help. So with legislation, like with Grunstyle is proposing an executive order to open up the floodgates so that money can be spent on the programs that are actually going to get the results. That's what I would get behind as well here in Canada, although we don't have executive orders. How do we ensure that the money that comes in like truckloads actually goes to the programs that are actually getting results? That's something that I'm kind of concerned with, because having received money from VAC, there was no oversight. I could have just taken that money and gone on vacation. They didn't know. That's not cool. Now, obviously, I'm honest. The Athena program is a great program. It's helped hundreds of women get leaner, fitter, dial their health in. It works. It exists. However, does the government even care that it's effective? I don't get the impression that they do, because they don't ask for metrics that would tell me that they actually give a shit. So if we're trying to improve mental health, we're trying to improve physical health for the veteran population, trying to provide some sort of means of care so that veterans don't harm themselves and that they can thrive. I think that's the point. Like, you should be able to thrive post military service. So why not set up the system so they can actually do it? Decentralizing is essentially what I'm trying to get at here. So if you feel the same, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Is this the way forward? Like, are there programs that you know of that have really benefited you that weren't through VAC, that had no VAC funding? Maybe they were just a program in the United States. Maybe they're a program in the UK. Maybe they're a program here, but they just didn't have VAC funding, but it was really beneficial. I'd love to hear in the comments if you guys are seeing some benefit from some of the programs that you've been doing, and name them. Name them. We need to find out as many as possible. So lastly, Grunstyle. So getting back to Grunstyle, the American Grit podcast and their Triangular Compass is something of note. So you should definitely go check this out. I'm just putting it up here on the screen. They're committed to ensuring that the veteran population gets healthier. So obviously that's in line with what I'm doing, and hence the reason why I'm going down in a week or so to chat about this, because you can address all the symptoms you want. It's not getting to the root cause. I'm a root cause problem solver. I want to fix the root of the problem for an individual that can't lose weight. I want to fix the root cause for an individual that has no energy. I want to fix the root cause for your feelings of, self-loathing, that you can't get off the couch and do what you want to do and hang out with your kids and like enjoy your life. Why is that? So that's what I like to do. That's what I like to focus my coaching on. It's less kettlebell swings and more, hey man, like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why aren't you following up? Why aren't you doing the work? And this is in line with what Grunt Style is trying to do. So they set up a course. It's absolutely free. You can go online, americangrit.com, and you can go follow what they've laid out. So if you look at the intro here, they did a lot of research and they put a lot of work into getting this out into the veteran sphere. So essentially what they've done is they've broken things down to vitality and strength, true grit, warrior spirit. Okay. So you can see here, there's a pyramid. Makes sense. So what they're trying to do is just outline the roadmap, the blueprint. And that's very similar to what I did here with my book, right? So harden the fuck up. The point is you need to have just a starting point. Read, absorb, and then take action. That's the important part. You got to take action. So if you're not thriving, if you don't have the gas to move forward, you're just like stuck, there's a reason. But finding that reason is really tough. My philosophy is you got to start moving first. Action begets action. So if you start moving, you're going to start doing better. Now that you start moving, your mind starts to work a little bit better. You get more blood flow. Maybe you get a little hungrier. You start eating more, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, assuming you're eating good shit. And then you start going down the path. Now, that path is lifelong. It's not like 2 weeks and you're done. You start working on yourself. And if you exhaust the body, you'll calm the mind. The biggest issue I have with our current model is we don't incorporate fitness into the veteran wellness model. It's just pushed off to the side. It's like, yeah, well, just make sure you're physically active. What does that mean? Like, okay, how much? When? What type? And then what? These are all the things that just don't get covered off because it's easier for somebody to say, hey, sit down, get on a Zoom call, talk to your therapist, and then take these pills. There's no struggle there. That's the easy button. And the easy button gets you into trouble every time. There has to be a struggle. There has to be some growth. You don't grow if you just sit there, pop a pill, smoke some weed, and talk to a therapist. That's not going to get you to where you need to be. And that's why folks like Grunt Style, my book, they're just there to act as a guide to get you up off your ass and get you moving. And if you want to have a community that actually helps you make that change happen, come join the Hard to Kill community. It's absolutely free. I'll pull it up here. So if you're listening to the podcast and you're like, man, what else do I do? Like, I don't know where to start. There's a lot of good info, but sometimes it's hard for me to just get going. That's what the Hard to Kill community is all about. It's absolutely free. I just literally put all of my stuff, like programs, you name it, in the classroom. It's all free resources. I'm doing it because it sits on a hard drive. I'm adding more every day. This was just like yesterday, basically. I put this all up. You can download it. It's absolutely free. There's weight loss guides, recipe packs, habit trackers, sleep guides, how to get your blood done, or not how to get it done, but what to do after you get it done. What markers should you look for? What should you talk to your doctor about? Like brutal WODs, you name it. It's all here. And I just keep on adding it from my hard drive, because rather than having it sit on my hard drive and not actually deploy it to the community, you can just go grab it. All you need to do is just sign up. You show up here, boom, put your email in, and you're part of the community. So I'd love to have you in there. I'm closing my Facebook community down, if you guys were tracking. I'm part of the Facebook community because I'd much rather it be on this platform, on the school platform, because then there's no distractions. Then I know you're actually here because you want to actually get fit and dial in your health, not because you're just randomly scrolling through Facebook and, it's sure, sounds good. And then there's no distractions. You're just here. You have to log into here. It's not social media. It's just a community full of good stuff. So I think that wraps up what I was trying to get to, which is take care of yourself, take action. Once you start getting moving again, once you start taking care of yourself, then start exploring things like plant medicine. It could be a benefit. Maybe it's not. But the point is, there needs to be more options on the table. And if you've been struggling with your mental health, your physical health, just your health in general, there is a way forward, but it's not the VA. It's you. You got to take action. Okay? If you want the blueprint, plenty of resources here in the community, plenty of resources here in my book. It's available on audiobook, Kindle, and paperback. Or just, do your own research. That's it. That's how I got started. I didn't have anybody showing me anything. I just figured it out, and then I started reaching out. At some point, you have to just take that leap. And I can't wait to hear your success stories. So, are there any questions in the community here on X? So if you got a question, let me know before I pop off. All right, drop some comments here. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but it's hardcore psychedelic mushroom medicine. Should be legalized. Yeah, I'm really curious. Like, you can get psilocybin from mushrooms in the mail. I mean, I get microdose capsules mailed to me. Clearly, there's no enforcement of that, because even though it's quote unquote illegal, why? What's the point of having that rule? So where's the legislation going to come from? Is it going to come from the ground up, top down? That's where it's unclear. And as Canadians, it typically everything takes for freaking ever, and then just they fade into obsolescence, and just we do stuff against our own rules all the time here. We make rules and then we don't follow them because there's no enforcement. So then it just becomes like de facto legal. I don't know, but yeah, I'd be curious to see when this all takes place. But it's the veteran community that's pushing this forward. So that's where our power lies, right? We have a lot to say. We just need to be a little bit more vocal. We need to understand how to advocate for ourselves. Hence the reason why I like spending time with Grunt Style. They know how to advocate. Americans know how to play the game. I think a lot of us here in Canada have not ever learned how to play the game, and I'm including myself in that. So we just get angry and we go, "Oh, you fuck finding me," and then we get nowhere, right? And you get some like grumpy veteran on CBC, and they always put the grumpiest one, right? At some sort of meeting, like firing off some spicy comments, so that the media and then the general Canadian population are just like, it's another disgruntled veteran. We got to get over that, man. We got to get through that. We got to get the advocacy groups to actually advocate for us, and that aren't just stooges of the government, that aren't getting handouts from the government. They have to stand on their own 2 feet. I'm optimistic. I think it's going to happen. All right. Guerrilla Radio. Hey, this looks like my Beast program logo. I guess that we got it from the same website. BMI index is flawed. Why are we talking about BMI? But I'll get into it. BMI index is flawed. At 6 foot, 200 pounds and fit, I'm overweight. I have to drop 185 pounds of weight. All right. Well, off topic, but let's get into it, man. I like it. BMI is, yes, a generalized metric for being overweight, being at normal quote unquote weight, because it's generalized. It's using the average. The like all measurement scales, they fall apart under intense scrutiny, because it's again taking the average of humanity and putting it on a scale. So if you're on the fringes, the model falls apart. So any scientific model typically falls apart on the fringes, even gravity. Okay. The law of gravity, it falls apart when you push it. Okay. So BMI, I like it as a general base for where are you at. Okay. So you're over 6. I'm over 6 feet. I'm 6'4". My BMI is 26 or 27. Last time I checked, I think, which puts me in the overweight category. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. My body fat is higher than I like it to be. So that's why this year I'm doing killing the fat kid. I need to make weight for my BJJ competition coming up. So I need to lose about another 10 pounds. So I'll knock off maybe another 2% body fat as I get closer and closer to my goal of I want to be around 10% body fat. That's going to take me a little bit more time than, 2 months. It's probably going to take me 4 to 5 months. But needless to say, where that put me in my BMI, it's going to bring me around like the 25 mark. It falls apart with high end athletes for sure. Boxers, weightlifters, it's based on the average. Most average people don't have an enormous amount of muscle mass. But it doesn't mean you throw the entire metric out because it's like, well, it doesn't work for me. I'm 6 feet. No, it's a good baseline measurement. And then once you have your BMI, the next calculation, the next metric I would use is just body fat calculation. Body fat is a way better way to determine your fitness. So your tape measure around your waist, tape measure around your neck is a really simple one. You can go even deeper. You can obviously, the more measurements you take, the more resolution you're going to get for a measurement for a body fat. You can, submerge yourself in a water tank. That's really, really hard to get access to. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it, but body fat is probably your best one to measure. And then strength metrics, right? Are you strong? How's your VO2 max? So BMI is just one simple way to calculate just where you're at. Again, if you're over 25, you're overweight, over 30, you're obese, over 35, you're morbidly obese. So keep that in mind. All right. Those tend to be relatively bang on. So is there another index for muscle index? Muscle index. Well, I mean, BMI is basically, so that's a body mass index. If you measure your body fat, so you tape measure yourself, you can put it into a calculator, and I'll bring up the calculator that I use here. So is Calcs Navy body fat. So this is bizcalcs.com body fat Navy. And this is what I use with my clients if it's not already done in the app that I use. But you can use US or metric, and let's just say you're 200 pounds, you're 6 feet tall, and your waist 29 inches at the narrowest, hip at the widest, neck, that's a really small neck. Let's just put it for males here. Waist, let's say it's 35, and neck, say it's 15. It's pretty standard. Yeah, then you'd have body fat at 24%, fat mass of 48, lean mass of 152. Body fat category acceptable. So it's a way to calculate, man. And so always know your numbers. And then obviously, like, how do you look? Take pictures. If you look shredded, you're shredded. That's it. If it's like 13% or 10%, if you still look shredded and that's where you want to be, then you're good. So these calculations are rough, but they're not that far off. If you want to, improve your muscle mass, go down to 32. So now lean mass goes up to 176, body fat's at 12%, fat mass is at 24. That's it. Your neck isn't really going to change that much. Your height isn't going to change that much. If your body weight stays the same, but your body fat goes down, obviously you gain muscle mass, right? If you went down to like 195, there you go. Okay. See how that works? So use it as much as you can. All right, guys. This was great. This was a hoot. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. 120 of y'all. And yeah, if you like my son's drawing, let me know. If you guys are just tuning in and you don't know what I'm talking about, let me show you here. My son did a really cool drawing of Venom. I'm going to show it to you right now. Entire screen. There we go. Here it is. What do you guys think? I think it's pretty cool. Show him some love in the comments. And that's it. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. Episodes coming out every week. We got some spicy ones coming up, more on the political side, and then we got some interesting ones about yoga, stretching, all kinds of cool stuff as well. And if you want to follow along and become a member, you can absolutely do so on YouTube. and you become a member of the HQ, get specific videos just for you, and get all kinds of discounts on merch and all kinds of cool stuff in the future. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to train hard, fight easy. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.